At my own sister's medal ceremony, the Royal Navy security turned me away like I was some random stranger. "Sir, your name isn't here. I'm Marcus Hayes. I'm 36. And I watched my younger sister, Charlotte, lean into her husband with that familiar cruel smile, her voice dripping with contempt. He should have stayed stacking papers instead of embarrassing himself. Some people just can't handle real military service. They had no idea that my so-called desk job had just orchestrated the extraction of 6 British hostages from a Somali pirate stronghold. They didn't know because it was classified. But today, they're about to discover exactly who's been pulling the strings in the shadows. Because I'm not just here for her ceremony. I'm here to collect what's mine. Have you ever been invisible to your own family until reality shattered their delusions? Share your story below. You're not alone in this fight. The young rating looked up from his tablet, voice respectful but unyielding. "I'm sorry, sir. Your name doesn't appear on Lieutenant Hayes' guest list." He angled the screen toward me. William Hayes, Margaret Hayes, Thomas Hayes. That was it. No Marcus, no brother, just a deliberate void where my name should have been. This wasn't an oversight. This was calculated erasure. Right on cue, the Royal Navy staff car glided up like a black predator. Charlotte stepped out in pristine dress uniform, medals gleaming, radiating that golden child aura that had suffocated me for 30 years. She spotted me at the Portsmouth gates, saw the guard blocking my path, and her smile turned predatory. She leaned toward her husband, voice pitched perfectly to Carrie, probably confused about the guest list again. Poor Marcus never could figure out real military protocols. Should have stayed in his little cubicle instead of pretending to be one of us. I didn't flinch outwardly, but inside something crystallized into diamond-hard resolve. Mother suddenly discovered her handbag needed urgent reorganization. Father's jaw tightened, not at Charlotte's cruelty, but at me, like I was the embarrassment for daring to exist in their perfect narrative. They walked past me like I was air. No one vouched for me. No one looked back. No one even hesitated. I stood there, spine locked straight, watching my family vanish into the naval base like I was just another piece of discarded equipment at the gate. The guard cleared his throat awkwardly. "Sir, I'll need you to step aside for other guests." I didn't argue. I nodded once and melted into the shadows. Not because I was defeated, but because something inside me had transformed into something colder, harder, and absolutely final. Let them feast on their lies. The truth was coming, and it wore 2 silver stars that would blind them. My family thinks I analyze spreadsheets in some forgotten Whitehall basement. They picture me drowning in paperwork, fighting printer jams, and filing meaningless reports. What they can't see is the operations center, a steel-reinforced vault buried 3 levels beneath the Ministry of Defense, where the air tastes like filtered metal and the walls pulse with classified secrets. One entire wall blazes with real-time satellite feeds, submarine tracking systems, and heat signatures painting a digital map of global threats. This is my battlefield. This is where I wage war in the shadows. The night before Charlotte's ceremony, I was in that bunker coordinating a live hostage extraction 400 miles off the Somali coast. 6 British oil engineers trapped in a concrete compound, surrounded by AK-47 wielding pirates. A special boat service team crouched in Zodiac boats, waiting for my signal to breach. My voice cut through the static, calm as death itself. "Neptune leader, abort your approach. 3 speedboats converging on your 6 o'clock, armed with RPGs. This is a kill box. Repeat, this is a kill box. Pull back now or you're all dead." That single command saved 8 lives. And one of those SBS operators? His service record showed previous deployment under Lieutenant Charlotte Hayes aboard HMS Defender. The cosmic irony was suffocating. While I was preventing his team from walking into a meat grinder, Charlotte was texting me her usual poison. "Hope you're not too bored pushing papers in London, Marcus. Try not to fall asleep on the job." She had no idea. None of them did, because I never told them. Because operational security wasn't just protocol, it was survival. I'd made peace with invisibility years ago, until that morning at the gates when silence stopped feeling like strength and started feeling like slow suffocation. But destiny has a sense of humor. 3 days later, in a mahogany-paneled office overlooking the Thames, Admiral Richardson set down his teacup and looked me dead in the eye. You prevented an international incident and saved 6 British lives. The Prime Minister has been briefed, and it's time the world knew exactly who Marcus Hayes really is. He slid a manila folder across the desk. Inside, the declassification order for Operation Nightfall, my masterpiece, my vindication, my nuclear option. Then he smiled with the precision of a surgical blade. Your sister's ceremony is tomorrow, isn't it? Perfect timing. I can still taste the bitter summer when Charlotte received her commission. Dad transformed our garden into a military shrine. Bunting, uniformed guests, a cake decorated with future Admiral Charlotte in royal blue icing. Neighbors, retired officers, local dignitaries, everyone came to worship at the altar of our golden child. That exact same week, I won the Turing Prize for developing an encryption algorithm that revolutionized submarine warfare communications. When I handed Dad the medal, it felt like offering him my beating heart. He glanced at it for maybe 2 seconds, muttered, "Good job, son," and immediately returned to discussing Charlotte's career trajectory with a visiting admiral. That's when the truth detonated in my chest. In the Hayes family, only one type of service counted, and I wasn't wearing the right uniform. So I stopped begging for scraps of recognition. Until now. Until that moment at the Portsmouth gates when Admiral Richardson's official Bentley pulled up like divine intervention. He emerged in full dress uniform, 4 stars blazing like captured sunlight. His voice carried across the entire checkpoint. There you are, Admiral Hayes. We were beginning to think you'd gotten lost. Admiral Hayes. The guard's face cycled through confusion, recognition, then pure terror. He'd almost denied entry to a 2-star admiral. The gate didn't just open, it practically ripped itself apart in panic. As Admiral Richardson guided me through, his voice dropped to a whisper meant only for me. Shall I have a word with your family about protocol? I glanced toward my parents and Charlotte, frozen like wax figures in a museum of their own shock. No need, I said quietly. I suspect they're about to educate themselves. We walked past them, my uniform crisp, my 2 silver stars catching every ray of light. For once, the silence belonged to me, and I let them choke on it. Charlotte received her medal first, gliding across the stage like she owned the world. She thanked our parents, her commanding officers, her husband, everyone except the brother standing 20 feet away. The erasure was surgical, complete, masterful, until Admiral Richardson approached the podium. Ladies and gentlemen, we have an unscheduled presentation. His voice rumbled like distant thunder. Due to national security classifications, this recognition has remained sealed until this moment. The auditorium shifted. Whispers rippled through the crowd like electricity. Every eye locked on the Admiral as he continued. Rear Admiral Marcus Hayes. Time shattered. Gasps exploded across the room. Then, like a tsunami of respect, every uniformed body rose to attention. Every single person except 3. My parents and Charlotte, who sat paralyzed like they'd been struck by lightning. I stood and walked to the stage. No hesitation, no apology, no explanation. Admiral Richardson pinned the Distinguished Service Cross to my chest and leaned close. Tell them who you really are, Admiral. His voice filled the auditorium like a proclamation. Operation Nightfall required split-second decisions that prevented 3 separate international incidents. Admiral Hayes' intelligence network identified and neutralized threats to British vessels across 2 hemispheres. Most recently, his tactical coordination saved HMS Defender from a coordinated missile attack in the Eastern Mediterranean. I found Charlotte's eyes across the sea of faces. She knew that ship. She knew that mission. And I watched her world collapse as she realized the brother she'd spent decades humiliating was the shadow guardian who'd kept her alive. The applause was deafening, but all I heard was the silence from my family. The kind of silence that comes when everything you believed about reality crumbles into dust. This wasn't revenge, it was revelation. And revelation, I discovered, was far more powerful than any petty payback. 6 months later, I entered our family sitting room to find a new shrine. A handcrafted oak display case dominated the far wall, containing grandfather's Victoria Cross, father's service medals, Charlotte's decorations, and in the center, elevated like a crown jewel, my Distinguished Service Cross, beside a photo of Admiral Richardson pinning it to my uniform. Dad built it himself, Mother said softly, her voice carrying years of regret. He said it was time the Hayes family history told the complete truth. That evening over dinner, nobody boasted. Nobody competed. Instead, Dad cleared his throat and asked with genuine curiosity, "Marcus, how do you manage international intelligence coordination at that level? It must be like conducting an orchestra where every musician is potentially an enemy." Later, on the old garden bench where we'd sat as children, Charlotte found me watching the stars. "I'm sorry," she said, voice barely above a whisper. "It was never really about you. I was so terrified of being ordinary that I needed you to be nothing, so I could feel like everything." I smiled, not with superiority, but with understanding. "I spent 30 years thinking I needed this family to validate my existence," I said. "But the truth is, my worth isn't something you can give or take away. It's something I carry in my bones." She nodded, tears reflecting starlight. "I'm proud to call you my brother." And for the first time in my life, I could say it back with peace flooding my chest. "I'm proud to call you my sister." Because this wasn't just victory. This was liberation from the prison of other people's expectations. If you've ever been dismissed, erased, or underestimated by the people who should love you most, this story belongs to you too. Drop a crown emoji if you've ever had to claim your own worth, and subscribe to Hidden Truths for more stories about silent heroes who finally step into the light they've always deserved.